Oh, long days. Are we ready, sir?
You feel better now?
Oh, I feel better. I'm groaning for everybody. Well, you know, Justin doesn't ever tell me anything. I'm the last one to know. Welcome to TAR 26 on the, look at my watch, the 9th of August,
Hello.
2012. Justin says hi, so do I. Well, let's see. Justin put a post on AZ Billiards and asked for some suggestions, so I think we're going to kind of rip down that thing a little bit and talk on some of the topics. It hasn't been a super busy week this week. There's been a couple
Greatest
things.
thread ever in the history of AZ Billiards. Thank you very much, Crazy Cue Makers.
Oh.
Did you read that? Did you follow that at all? With the guys, it all started with the guy saying, this guy sent him this beautiful piece of koa wood.
Oh, that one.
And he
Oh,
said,
yeah,
and he
Trent.
made
Oh,
the
yeah,
cue.
yeah.
And then he said, I'm
going
going to cut it up.
Yeah, that one. I quit reading that after I haven't looked at it in a week. I mean, it just got too bizarre.
You dogged it.
No, I
because
dogged it. No.
It took some great turns.
No.
It was, oh, yeah. No, it's the best thread in the history of AZ Billiards.
I was spending most of my time following the $50,000 match between Scott and Efren that Joey was pushing or whatever. And you made it. You got to do it.
Well, the thing of it, I watched that when it first started, and I knew how it was going to end.
Well, yeah.
I knew how it was going to end.
But
it's the way they always end.
But see, you gained
props to Joey for trying.
And you gained some backhanded respect. Everybody says, you know, there might be more to this than I thought.
Yeah, it was.
So
it's funny how that works.
Yeah. And I think probably the biggest thing that's going on is AccuStats doing their Invitational 8-ball. 8-ball is starting to get a little buzz. AccuStats 8-ball. We're doing 8-ball as one of the 3 disciplines. We announced the U.S. Open 8-ball for May. I say May all the time.
Did you give it dates?
It's going to be July 17th through 27th.
Okay.
You know, at our nationals. So we'll be doing the 1 pocket, probably in this order: U.S. Open 1 pocket first, U.S. Open 10-ball, U.S. Open 8-ball.
Okay. What did you think of the red and yellow balls?
Different. You know, I'm dating myself. This wasn't in Alaska though, but back in the tournaments, the early days of the VCA tournament, they were played with red and yellow. Came from the black ball, whatever, in England. But you know, it's interesting. I thought it would be better.
So did I.
It's a little difficult, but you know, only in discussions, because I don't think, and I only watched 15 minutes of it because I was working and everything. You're not going to see these guys slot balls in very often, and they're not going to crash into a pile of balls and not know which one's going where. But it's hard to he's going to get shape on the yellow ball over there, and
then he's going to shoot the other yellow ball. Trying to get shape on the other yellow ball.
This yellow ball instead of that. It's very difficult to track.
As far as playing, I think I understand it as far as playing.
Oh yeah, because you can see. It helps me visually because I can tell who has got which balls. You know.
But I hate it. I don't like it at all. Not even a little bit. I watched it today, and I couldn't even watch it. You know, AccuStats. You know, you try things, and if I hope a lot of people don't like it because then we'll see more of it. But you know,
it would only be an 8-ball. I mean, that's the only discipline you'd ever see it in.
You could do it in 1 pocket.
Well, there's no point. The only reason you
need that's true.
There's no point. You need stars and stripes, high and low for 8-ball, and 9-ball. You need the number. They have to be in numerical order.
What's the stars and stripes?
You don't know what stars? You never heard of highs and lows, solids and stars and stripes.
Okay.
Boy, you are young.
I guess. Stars and wow. So I don't know. The idea of the tournament was neat. I thought the idea of how he financed it was
pretty
really cool.
Yeah. You know, he did an 8-ball event 10 years ago or something.
The only thing is that I'm afraid of in this industry, what happens when somebody tries something like that and it works, 20 other people try to do it and they screw it all up. Look like raffles.
Yeah.
Remember raffles? They used to be, and then look at how jacked up that whole thing turned into.
Yep.
But mark my words, we will see somebody else try that.
Well, I don't know. It takes a lot to pull off a good pay-per-view.
No, that's what I mean. Well, AccuStats can do it because they have the capabilities and the skills.
So could we, but people don't understand the threshold of doing something decently at a half-decent quality. So.
Well, but the thing of it is, the people have always said, why don't you guys do XYZ with 4, 5, 6 players? Because that's what it took. He raised $30,000 for that event.
Yeah.
You know. 30 grand.
And I'm not sure what the payout is. I mean, I know there's
It's $1,000 a match.
Oh, okay. I knew it'd been there
So
somewhere.
$15,000 payout.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're all guaranteed 5 matches.
No, so it'd be 30, yeah. And then,
yeah, 6 times 5.
yeah, so yeah, 30,000. For
Yeah.
some reason I got,
That's yesterday's math.
Yeah.
We're in today now. But anyhow, we can start touching on a couple of the things here, and I can just rattle off here. There's still some people have been following your comments on the progress on video on demand.
here, let's do this. Oh, geez. Well, this was for, I'm going to skip all the questions that was for the players, because there was a misunderstanding.
Yes, there was. You know, I really, I'm not a player. I want to fess up.
Danny Lee asked any progress on video on demand. I talked to the guy here in Vegas today, and he's still putting his stuff together. He's actually in the middle of building a website for a friend of mine, so he's kind of all wrapped up with that. But
well, it's the future, we think.
yeah, if we can keep, yeah, maybe.
Well, there's a lot of issues. Yeah,
Who's the best player in the world and why?
that's pretty tough.
That's IBA. I think certain variations of this have been asked, but not so directly and with justification. I'm going to guess he's asking that to the players, so we'll just save that.
Yeah.
As pointless as it may be, and it is, you could discuss pool as a sport in the Olympics.
Yeah,
If for no other reason, because the Philippines hasn't won a medal since '96, and they will be well represented,
really?
should pool be part of the Olympics? Yeah, they'd be a monster in the Olympics, at least for that game.
it's just never going to happen.
No, I don't think there's an organization.
Well, there's no organization. What game
No
do you
money.
play? You know, the international game is probably billiards or snooker. It's not pool. It's not 9-ball.
Yeah, I would see snooker making it before.
You see, but billiards is probably the easiest one to visual because you can see the game from a distance. The problem with pool is you can't see it. You can't have any spectators. It's all ticket driven anymore. I mean, these
Well,
are billion-dollar propositions. You know.
Yeah, there's a lot of empty seats out there, though. To me, it's more about, you know, you've got men's and women's handball in a giant stadium. Handball. You know what handball
Yeah.
is? Yeah. I mean, it's terrible.
Yeah, well,
But I mean, I see the point. Yeah, if somebody just came by and said, hey, we're going to have an Olympic pool tournament, cool. But as far as for anybody in the game spending the money that it would take to put an effort like that together, I don't
well,
see
they
it
tried
out there.
it, and it went on deaf ears. And I think last we heard
Well,
on this
did
was
they really
can't-
try it? I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
or did
that's
they
why
go
the
out and
BC
spend the
no,
money?
that is why the Billiard Congress of America moved to Colorado Springs.
Okay, well,
That
makes
is where
sense.
that is
Yeah,
where the
that's
IOC is.
Yeah, well, the
And,
U.S.
US, yeah. And they moved there, and they were there for 10 years. And after a while, they kind of gave up. And everybody says, "Oh, they shouldn't have given up." You're beating your head against the wall. It
Well,
doesn't work.
there's
in
not
the
enough
US.
money in pool.
Yeah.
If you look at everything that goes on in the Olympics, there's a shit ton of money in every one of them sports. And I'm not talking about, but I'm
Beach
talking
volleyball?
about, but I'm
It's
talking
not
about
that
money
much.
behind it. Well, no, beach volleyball makes money for NBC. People watch it.
Yeah, well,
It's exciting.
Yeah, I don't think
That's why beach volleyball and BMX is in the Olympics.
I don't think that's the answer, though. You know, that's not why shot putting and those things are in there.
Well, that's
historical.
traditional sports.
But I just don't believe it's money driven.
Look at all the new sports that have went in. They took baseball out of the Olympics.
Yeah.
Handball is still in it. Why? Somebody's got juice. Somebody's putting money somewhere. I mean,
I don't know. I'm not a big fan of conspiracy theories. I just know that.
conspiracy theories, that's how the world works, man.
If I remember correctly, that they've already. You have to go through a certain series of presentations and lower level agreements.
But the IOC is the most crooked body of people on the face of the planet.
But anyhow, the last they heard was you can't even be discussed before 2020, I think.
Yeah.
Because they've already got the games in for 2020. So the next option is 2024 or something. It's just, I don't know.
Celtic wants to know, hear them talk about their thoughts on the success of the recent 8-ball events on TAR, the 8-ball at Tunica, current AccuStats 8-ball event. We already covered that. Do they see 8-ball potentially becoming more and more of a factor in pro pool? Yeah, I do.
I see it more and more. I've never been a fan of 9-ball. 8-ball's a better game. I'm not convinced a bigger table makes it a better game.
That was his other question. He said, also, now that the pros have played on the 10-foot diamonds and fans seem to like them, do they see the 10-foot as a good direction for pool? You know, I was torn on this. He and I were talking about it right before the podcast. Personally, I can see it going both ways, but my gut tells me pool probably doesn't need another non-standard item thrown in the mix.
And that non-standard you're talking is 10 foot.
Just anything.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know, we already play. Every tournament's played by different rules on different equipment. Some
Oh, yeah.
tournaments have different tables in the same tournament.
Yeah.
I,
Which one are you talking about?
Yeah.
That's pretty brutal.
I don't. I mean, I think the 10-foot table is a niche for Diamond. I think it's cool that they're making them.
I
but
think
it's-
there's potential on a limited scale. Do I ever see it being a mainstream tournament? No.
No.
I did talk to Greg, and he says, well, how many would fit in a truck? So we figured, this is probably 16. Oh, maybe we ought to make 16. I'm thinking, why?
That's why. Yeah. Why would you?
know-
I don't think. To me, it's simply the fact of. You know, I mean, the Earl Shane thing on that 10-foot table was wild and crazy, but that's because the table was shit. I mean, it was
Yeah,
a gaff. It was like
super
a roller coaster
Yeah,
because
it was a pretty
you know
goofy
certain shots wouldn't go, and you knew that if a guy got on that side of the ball, he's screwed. So now he's got to do something else. But you know, to me, that's not pro pool. That you know, that match just proved that it's like, yeah, sure, both guys play on the same table, but at the same time, did you come to watch the players or did you come to see them get tricked by a table?
But I think that the 10-foot table, and I played on it a little bit at Tunica, you know, it's still a 4.5-inch pocket. And it doesn't, they're not that intimidating. Now, and I said before me, this 4.1/8-inch pocket is tougher than these 10-foots.
Yeah.
Put a 4.25 on these 10-footers, and now you're starting to get there a little bit.
Yeah.
If that's what you want to accomplish. But do you want
But
to watch
see,
people miss?
Yeah, you're going to watch them miss all day.
See,
you know what
because
you're going to turn it into? You're going to turn
safe
it into
war.
Oscar,
Safe war.
Oscar and Mora
yeah,
on
safe
that
war.
snooker table.
And that's one of my main beefs.
The
about
guy's
what's-
got 4 balls on the table
And
and
they
he
won't
won't
run
run
out.
out. Yeah.
That's one of my main beefs about pool. They've made a reward for safety more rewarding than going for the shot. So really, if you want to solve this problem, go to some kind of offense, total offense situation. And there's
The
simple
game's,
ones.
in my opinion, the game's fine. We just people want to change rules and fix things by changing games, and you end up with bonus ball and everything else.
And
But,
speaking of bonus ball, I know that they're still plugging away. I haven't heard too much, but they're still plugging away. So we shall see.
basically, Celtic that was Tar considered shifting to a 10-foot table with tar-sized pockets. I don't think so. I don't. To me, it would make the game.
That's a little brutal.
Yeah, people want to see runouts. We've already gotten some feedback on this table. People want to see runouts. Everybody talks about wanting to see super tight pockets and this and that.
Like Earl says, play on a 6x12 then.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
But it's got to be tough enough to where guys aren't running out from everywhere. But guys don't run out from everywhere on regular diamonds. I mean, it ain't like guys are regularly getting up on a regular diamond running 6-packs. It don't happen that often.
No, it doesn't. And you know, it's just like anything else. Bowling or whatever, they're going to run strikes, and they're not. And same thing with running racks. So I don't know.
Here's a great question by Basement Dweller, which I was thinking about this. His first part was he asked about 10-foot tables that we just covered. But this is something I was thinking about. And he said, thoughts on Landon Chuffett's impressive showing at the Southern Classic? Will he be the next great American player? Everybody thinks of Shane being so young, but he's actually inching closer to 30. We really should have more great young players like Landon. It seems to be taking a lot longer for the American players to hit their stride than it should. Mid-20s seems a bit late. I think past greats started competing with the big boys much earlier, like Landon.
Well, number one, Landon's a hell of a player. Yeah. Perfect gentleman. He's got all the tools and all the skills. His dad did one great job, Stan.
Absolutely.
But I find probably the most interesting aspect of this is it does seem to take a while for American players to get up there. Although there's a pretty good crop of junior players. You got Brendan Crockett. You got this Tyler Skyer. I think they got so many Skyers.
Yeah, but the juniors very rarely stick around and make it.
Yeah, well, life gets in their way.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
to me, and I don't know that you'll see Landon stick around and really be.
No, he's going to school.
Yeah,
but
that's
you can
what I
do
mean.
both to a degree, but you lose something if you're distracted, so to speak.
So I hope Landon. I can see it going both ways. Part of me hopes Landon does whatever Landon wants to do and goes to school, and to me that's the main thing. Whatever makes him happy. If he wants to be a pool player, hopefully, and I'm sure his father has already laid that down to him. You know, he's going to get a good background and do it the right way.
Well,
But if he if he does, years down the road, I don't think you won't see Landon come on like Shane did, because they're living two different lives.
correct.
Do I think Landon can be a great player? Absolutely. I think he's already a great player. Yeah.
He's been a monster for about 5 years, which is a little scary when he's only 18.
But there's, pool in America eats its young. There's really no support structure for him there, and it's a hard life. It's a hard life.
But there's some bright sides. Take Landon, for instance. Now, he's paid his dues, quite obviously, but he is, I believe, the first recipient of a scholarship to Linwood College through the program that Mark Wilson's doing.
Oh, good.
He gets a college scholarship to go to school. It's not pool school, it's school. And they have a pool program. And this is, I mean, and this Skylar Tyler is going to be coming on board next year. And there's others, I'm sure. That's pretty exciting. So now maybe a parent will say, hey, kid, go play pool because you can get a scholarship to college. That's pretty cool.
That's really cool.
That is really cool.
Whoever,
And I know there's a couple of junior programs getting started. Straight Shot, I became aware that they're going to be doing something. They're doing some base camps. We're still slowly, ours is a little more encompassing, putting our junior program together. So I think there's getting to be a little motion towards helping the juniors out. And that's good for the game.
During this is Kruppa. After the last tar match, some of us, myself included, asked about DVDs, basically this question about DVDs. Maybe, probably not.
Well, we're analyzing. If the pay on demand happens, that solves that
well,
problem.
The DVD problem you get down to is to make any kind of quantity, you're going to spend $500 to $1,000 up front. And then nobody believes me.
Yeah.
They don't believe me
well,
because
Pat,
they act like
you.
I wasn't here from the beginning. Everyone says, I want DVDs, I want DVDs. So we go out and we spend $1,500 to make a bunch of DVDs.
And you sell 12.
Yes.
No, Pat says the same thing. For him to make his numbers work, he has to go out and print like 500 or 1,000 of them. And there's only like 2 out of 50 sell anywhere near that quantity. So you get all this dead stock or something. It's a real nasty trap.
Video on demand is the answer if the numbers can be made to work.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you run into the same problem with video on demand as you run into
bandwidth.
Yeah, bandwidth and storage.
Yeah.
You can
be real issues. And you can't expect people to pay $20 to watch some DVDs and this and that because it's a dollars and cents thing. We'll work it out as technology allows. The best we can do.
Lucas Billiards wrote a book here. Stop being so damn negative.
I'm trying to be very positive because this is a valid point. There is a lot to be good. The pool is, it's like Justin said earlier. It's not like there's nothing going on in pool. It might be just the opposite. There's too much going on in pool. I mean, every weekend you got 1 or 2 tournaments. You got them bumping.
Stop being negative again. He's written this like 5 times.
But it's not negative. I think pool's got a lot going on. And eventually it'll get a little more coordinated. It's more of a coordination show than an event show. More DVD questions.
Yeah, well, trust me.
I know. It's a tough nut. It is a tough nut.
Especially with our form factor. The new matches are better, but I just...
Well, I still think, and I
believe me, if there was just a way out there that could guarantee to make us money, and we'd be doing it.
Well, I'd like to try one, and maybe I'll talk to Justin. Justin and I have discussed it a few times, but I don't understand.
Perfect example. I put DVDs up for sale, old stock, and I had like 6 or 7 copies of the Earl match, and those sold out. But I've been having people bang on me for a year for John Showman's Q DVD. I put it up and left it up, sold like 4 copies. Seriously. People just sending me emails. Why don't you do this? I want this, I want this, I want this. And I put it out, AZ Billiards, Facebook, all this place, Twitter, all over the place. Left it up for a couple of months.
Well, I understand. I would like to try. I'd like to get some input, so maybe somebody can make some comments. And I know I don't understand all the intricacies of making a DVD, but I thought it would be a half decent idea to just call them tar raw, and you just
I
put 'em
told
on. And
Mark
he
doesn't
says
understand.
He's way
it.
against that.
He doesn't
We're gonna have a
understand.
public argument
That's
here.
like saying, okay, to save money on building the house, we're going to build the house, but we're not going to put any floors in. Yeah, or something like we're not going to paint it. Exactly.
You own a
We're not
body
gonna-
shop, we're not gonna paint the car.
We're not going to put any drywall in it. But so we'll save a lot of money if we don't put any drywall in it.
I don't know.
It doesn't work like that.
Well, see, I don't understand that. I'm not very sharp, obviously.
I've been telling him this for like 4 years. Like same thing over and over. You won't believe me.
No.
This is Nick V. Discuss how the youth in various countries can be engaged to bring more talent into pools for our sport as a future. I don't know how you reach kids. If I did, I wouldn't be doing this. I'd be making millions in advertising. So if you can figure that question out, you can be rich.
Well, a lot of it's the stigma of the game.
No, I don't think so. I think when it comes to kids, the whole back room, I think that's part. I think that's a draw. I don't think that's a negative. What's a negative is that it's boring as shit to watch, and it is very hard to do well. It's not something you pick up quickly. And
video games are a lot more exciting.
And if you are a bad player and you play a good player, he makes you look stupid. So. Pool's a tough game. That to me, that is one of the biggest hurdles to selling it, is how difficult it is.
Well, and plus the fact a good player makes it look so damn simple.
Right. Yeah.
It is kind of a concept.
Pool is a game that people play, not that people watch.
Yeah. I want to agree with you. I think everybody agrees with you. That's
a long time ago, when I first started getting into competitive shooting, a guy who'd been doing it since the 70s, almost since the birth of the sport. We were talking to people, they have the same conversation people in pool have. How do we get it mainstream, blah, 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 this and that. And the shooting world is much smaller than pool. I mean, it's tiny compared to pool. But the difference is they have a giant industry behind them.
Sure.
Billions of dollars.
Guns, leather belts, leather holsters.
Everything. But just billions and billions of dollars.
Yep.
So that's why you've got, there's been shooting shows every Sunday on television. And most of the time the models is they buy the time. So say we wanted to have a TAR television show every Sunday morning on Spike or whatever.
Yeah. For $50,000 we could probably have it.
Yeah, I mean, but that's how the way they do that is the production company, like we would get together and we would say, okay, this week we're going to go to the BCAPL Nationals and we're going to interview Mark Griffin and he's going to tell us what's wrong with everything. And then
the answers.
And then after that, we're going to have Shane get up and show us some trick shots and blah, blah, blah. But a typical 30-minute show like any other fishing or shooting or whatever, cooking, anything. So you do all that, you make the show, and then you take it to Spike and you say, okay, we're going to pay you X, whatever the going rate is for this time. And that's why they're always on off hours, Sunday mornings, stuff like that. And then you say, well, how do you pay for that? Well, the way they pay for it is because of the industry sponsors. Look at all these fishing shows, man. All those fishing shows, Spike ain't paying those guys to go fishing. That's all industry sponsors, boats and motors and all that.
And bait.
So that's,
Snails.
to me, that's the thing. Number one, pool's boring to watch. It's hard to play, and there's no big money industry behind it. So,
I think a lot of people watch pool. I watch it a lot of times. I mean, I enjoy the skill, but sometimes I like to see how the people hold up under pressure. It's kind of why I watch golf. I'm waiting for somebody to throw up. And I think most people watch car races for the same reason. They want to see an accident.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but pool, you don't have as many crash and burns as you have in other.
Well, you do, but then when you do, people, I that's not why I watch pool. I mean, I can see anybody get up there and lose their shit and either act like an asshole or flip out or, and
didn't quite mean it that severe.
Yeah.
Just,
well, but I mean, I'm not talking about you, but I'm talking about, a lot of people. We've had the last several matches, people will say, oh, well, these guys, they get up there and they're getting a paycheck and they don't play anything. Look, Mike DeShane and Dennis Hatch almost came to blows.
Yeah.
John and Corey almost came to blows.
There's a lot of emotions. You get wound up pretty tight in this game. Yeah.
So, that's one proof that, it's more than about the money, especially here, because these guys, they're in the spotlight and they know that, so they want to win because ain't nobody on earth got a bigger ego than a professional pool player.
You have to have an ego.
You have to. I mean, just to be that good, I think, well, to be that good at anything, you have to have a serious
real narrow
confidence.
line between conceit and confidence.
Yeah, confidence, yeah. And some of them are way over that line.
You think?
Yeah. But, you know, I think our sport's of course it's got a future. It's always, you know, it's not going anywhere. But where do you see TAR going? Is your current state where you expected when you first started TAR? Not really. I mean, when we first started TAR, it was kind of just, we had no plans.
Gambling action matches.
Yeah, pretty much. We just wanted somewhere to talk about, you know, action and about, you know, something besides what you read on AZ Billiards and tournament reports.
Yeah, it's a result of the changing world. Yeah. News by print is too slow.
Right. I remember I went to a tournament, Florida. I think it might have been the first one Shane won, his first like big tournament. Charlie's Universal World Giant Championship of the
universe.
Yeah, known
okay
extent. I remember I was doing text updates on AZ Billiards. I didn't have any cameras on. I was logged in giving scores as they were playing. Yeah. So I don't know. As to the current state, I think, you know, I think we've come a hell of a lot farther than I ever thought we would. A lot of it's due to this guy. I mean, I wouldn't be here, if he wasn't willing to.
You blame me for that every day too.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't. I couldn't. So,
yeah, we still got a few more hurdles yet.
Yeah, but I think if you look at what we've been able to do, I mean, you can always do more and you can always do better, and we're trying. But 5 years ago, before we started, there was, how many times have you heard people say, well, I would love to see so-and-so play, or who would win, who would win? Guess what? We've had a lot of those matches.
Well, this one coming up.
Yeah.
Because we can't forget TAR 29. That's one of the reasons why we're here, is to pump it. It's 17th, 18th, and 19th. But it's, and we have a lot of debate. It's Orculo. It's O's.
I was,
U's.
yeah,
it's
but
Orculo,
I was told
but
based
Orculo.
on, yeah, Orcullo.
Orcullo, okay.
Orcullo.
Yeah, okay. But it's Orcullo and Shane, and the last time that really, well, the come-outing party of Shane was when Dennis Orcullo spanked him 7-0 on TV.
Long time ago, yeah. 2007.
So this is going to be a good match, and I think on paper Shane's got to tweak the best of it. I don't mean much, not enough to bet on. So I don't bet on the matches we're having anyhow. So, but it's going to be interesting. But TAR 29 it should be a good one. Really should be.
Yeah, I think it'll be great.
And I don't think we'll have this almost come to blows. These guys are both gentlemen. But we are going to have a referee. And a stop clock.
That's going to mainly be to keep things moving.
Yeah.
We need to figure out.
Yeah,
it's more structure. And if anything, I don't think adding more structure to pool. I think you could keep adding a lot of structure on a lot of different things before you run out of room. But the one thing about when you add structure, now you're adding expense and you're adding more. But that's good. To me, that's something that's worth spending money on, is to have a referee and a shot clock operator all in one.
Yep.
And just right there, so there's no questions, nothing like that.
So that's
in my opinion, too, is that, referee, like in all good referees, you've seen, not heard, and that's one reason I like, hopefully we can talk Bill Stock into doing it, because he's a complete professional. To me, he's one of the best guys in the world at it. So hopefully we can get him in here.
Yeah, I've known Billy Bob for, holy mackerel. He's from Alaska.
Alaska.
Yeah.
Where are we at? Okay.
Well, somebody says you need to make more jokes.
Yeah, well, here we go. You both mention regularly how impossible it is to make money from a tournament or a tour. I'd like to know why.
I can run a few thousand reasons
out. In a Vegas hotel, I understand everything costs, but it seems the way it is presented, even if you held it in an existing pool hall, you'd lose money. To me, here it is. He can tell you better than I can, but I'll tell you anyway. You have to look at, like anything, expenses and revenue. how do you get money? What do you make money on? What do you spend money on? Okay, how do you make revenue off of a pool tournament? There's only really two ways, maybe three. One is the gate. Two, sponsorships, which is not really making money. That's paying the prize fund. In a perfect world, you could sell the rights to it, either
For broadcast purpose or whatever.
broadcast or DVDs, but it doesn't exist. And merchandise. Buy merchandise if you sell T-shirts.
And that's probably the biggest sleeper in most industries.
Yeah, but the thing of it is, you have to, and there I go saying that, I hate that phrase. People say,
At the end of the day.
well, you should just sell T-shirts. Okay, but you don't just get to keep the money from the T-shirts. You have to print the T-shirts.
Oh.
And then you have to sell them. And if you've gotten most of these things, if you've never done one of these events, it's as simple as this. We can be sitting here talking about something and say, oh, okay, well, we just need somebody to take tickets. His tournament at the Pro Arena. To keep this year, and one of the ideas was to put up that big curtain.
Yeah.
So during the
people would-
matches, so guess what? Oh, well, we need a guy to sit over here to make sure people don't sneak in. So now, okay, all we need now is one guy 12 hours a day for 8 days.
Yeah, $1,000 for,
Yeah.
and the reason we put the curtain up is we were really trying to get some interaction between the pros and the amateurs.
Mm-hmm.
But since we're moving to the Rio, we are solving that problem. I mean, if this doesn't work, nothing works.
Right.
Because we're putting
But so basically that's the bottom line. Is expenses are always going to be, almost always going to be
I
more.
don't think people understand how much the expenses are.
Yeah.
It depends what kind of tournament. What's the magnitude? Are you just doing a 16-table tournament? You're doing a 250-table tournament.
Right.
A lot of different. The
And
real
if-
problem is you get a normal tournament. Let's take a real good example: Barry Berman's Masters tournament.
Mm-hmm.
What, 100 people showed up to buy tickets? Maybe.
Yeah.
He spent $20,000 on bleachers.
Right.
You know,
Hey.
Galveston.
Galveston. That's the bleacher capital of the world
Yeah.
right there.
Well, you admire Louis Vicchio. I've gotten to know him a little bit. I'm not going to tell you the number, but it's got a lot of zeros on the end of it that went sideways on that event.
Well, that's one of the beauties of
Yeah,
know,
America. You can lose money at anything.
You cannot
You
listen.
don't even have to try.
People tried. You tried to help them,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know,
Well, that
it's-
was a funny deal.
but they want to listen to the wrong people. If you look at a lot of tournaments that flop,
Look at some of the people
look
involved.
there's generally the same group if you follow them around, and what they are is they're industry people in pool, and what'll happen is somebody with money will come in and before long it's just that's it, and then now they go off and they feel their head full of this bullshit, and the guys lose a shit ton of money on a one-time event, and then what?
but
They
you-
go away. You never
Well,
see
you
them
burn up
again.
everything. That happens with venues, too. You can get a casino venue or something to say, okay, we'll try pool, and if it's a bad operation or a bad situation, they blow the facility away. They'll never do another pool tournament because they didn't blame it on that guy didn't know what he was
No,
doing.
blame
It's
it on
the
pool.
industry.
Yeah.
And we've lost some good locations due to other people's misbehavior. And sometimes people just aren't realistic. So it's a very, very tough racket.
Yes.
If anybody's ever really serious about doing an event, though, call me because we can sidestep a lot of the issues. And by communicating and two people with kind of a common goal getting together, we can both take a lot less risk, a lot less
No,
expenses.
yeah. Well, I mean, that's one thing. You've got everything under one umbrella. You've got, between Bad Boys and Rick and all their stuff, you
And
got all the
Diamond,
trucks and Diamond, you got all the tables, you got all, the tournament software.
We're a one-stop shop. Basically,
Yeah.
we got tar, we got everything,
Yeah.
and so if somebody wanted to do a points event that takes 25,000,
Yeah.
they could come and talk to us, and we might come up with part of it because that way we can do an amateur event alongside it and do
Mm-hmm.
some things that helps everybody and makes the pool world work better.
Now, talking about a tour, why a tour won't make money? Well, not won't. It's tough, very tough.
Yeah,
The
it's
hurdles to a tour is you're doing a bunch of tournaments. So now you're taking a high risk proposition, where your chance of success is minimal, and you're doing a bunch of them. So your overall risk just gets that much greater.
You know what the story is, though, right? You lose money on the first one, but you make up for it in volume.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Simple economics.
That's right. He and I, personally, to me, the answer, at least for Pro Pool, in my opinion, 8 guys, 2 tables, and a truck. That's
Well,
it.
we're
16
kicking-
maybe,
yeah,
but
we're
I think
kicking some
8
things
would
around.
do it.
Yeah.
Because there's really about only 8 Americans people would pay to watch anyway.
Well, and that's where it all breaks down. When you want somebody to pay to watch anything,
Yep.
whether it be pay-per-view streams, come and watch, you know, they'll pay $10, $15 to watch a 2-hour movie, but they won't pay $15 to watch 8 hours of pool.
Yep.
It's
And-
interesting. It's the dynamics are very
Well,
interesting, very
pool
challenging.
is a game that people play.
Yep.
You look at you look at where all the money in pool is as an industry in this country. Where is it? It's in leagues. It's in amateurs. That's it. You don't see, you know, where else do you get thousands and thousands of people spending thousands of dollars to fly somewhere and play pool? You only
Yeah.
see it at amateur.
Well, it's a sport. It's a
Yeah.
recreation. It's a hobby. You know.
Well, it's a hobby that some people play as a sport.
Yeah.
You know, and the double-edged sword to me for the game is the bar table. It's exposed the game to more people, but it's also turned it into a bar game.
Yep. It's really changed.
In most people's minds, pool is the same as Mega Touch or electronic darts.
Yeah.
They don't take it serious. It's something they do when they go get drunk.
Well, the pool's not going away. We have a lot of
No.
diehard fans, and pool has so many advantages. It's something you can play from your 2 to 92, you know, and it's a lifelong skill.
Mark says you've done okay, in the business of pool halls. Does he have any insights for other owners out there who might be having trouble? Is there something you did different than what you see around today as far as running a pool room?
Well, the biggest one is that I notice is my places were always clean.
Mm-hmm.
When I have to tell you a story. I bought College Billiards, in 1996 or something, and I'd been through it, but I didn't realize, I wasn't really paying attention. It was one of them deals I didn't think would happen, so it happened.
Right.
I tell you what, I walked through there and my feet stuck to the carpet.
Yeah.
It was just that old, and that, I mean, it's one of the, so I mean, when I did it, I mean, we replaced the carpet. I had to replace. In the kitchen, you'd walk back to the kitchen, there was one of those rubber mats. It was no big deal, except it covered a hole in the floor. The kitchen area was up like 2 steps. So you go in, what's that? You step
great.
on it, goosh, and you lick it up, and there's a hole in the floor.
That's awesome.
Oops. So you end up fixing things. And one of the problems I always had is I put too much money in the rooms, but the equipment was always first class.
Mm-hmm.
You could play on, and that's something I've always been known for. And when I moved to San Diego, I raised the level of all the tables in San Diego because I owned 3 rooms down there, and they were cleaned daily, they were maintained properly, they had good lights. It was just amazing what the people would play on down there when I took over Gaslamp, and they had World of Leisure tables, but they were the cheapest model they made. They were oak, wooden, pockets were, and you'd go in there and have these 3 the brass lights.
Yeah.
Well,
One light would be
one
out.
light would be out, and people thought it was great. I said,
Yeah.
"Excuse me,"
Yeah.
so rule number 1 is take care of the equipment,
Mm-hmm.
and it's expensive, but a lot of it's time and not money. Once you take and clean up the table and put new cloth on it, don't let people shoot masse shots constantly, and no sitting on the table, no cigarettes over the table, no drinks on the table. I mean, I remember there was a room in Whittier, California, and it was one of the top rooms in the country, the Billiards Digest. This is a year or 2 after it opened up. I went
Trashed
up there,
it.
you go in there, and then every table had 10 beer stains and the rings from the beer. I'm thinking, and bubble gum, I says, wow,
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
It's just so foreign to me. So if you just take care of your equipment and your cue sticks. Boy, I tell you what, you got to have good tips and good house cues.
Mm-hmm.
And just, or don't have house cues and just rent some low-end jointed cues.
Mm-hmm.
There's been rooms that have done that, and you do pretty well. It's $2 a rental.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you can buy a half-decent stick these days for $30-40.
Right.
Yep. If a guy likes it that much, you can buy it for $100 from him.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
it's a good way. But there's little simple things, but keeping the equipment up, and that includes the bathrooms, is really important.
Right.
And stay away from food.
Too expensive?
Food has busted more pool halls than bad pool. You just can't overcome it.
Yeah. The expense of the labor and
The insurance, the equipment. It depends if you're buying a new one
Yeah.
or building a new one or buying an existing. Because if it's already there, it's and the waste. And most pool halls, the cook's costing $100 a day. That's the worst occupation in the world, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You see these cooks and they work and they're hard workers and you get $10 an hour.
Yeah.
what the hell is the deal, you know? But anyhow,
And you'll never get any more.
No, and so you pay $120 in labor plus all the food costs, and you sold $80 worth of food. I mean, it doesn't take a genius to know there's something wrong with this picture. It was so bad at one of my places, I was tempted. Never did it, but I almost did. I was just going to put menus out, and if you want food, I'll pay for it. It's Kentucky Fried Chicken and pizza, because they'll deliver it.
And it's cheaper?
It's cheaper. I'd lose less money if I bought the meal. But it keeps, the idea of the food is to keep them in the room.
That's awesome. Everybody gets a $10 lunch allowance.
Yeah. See?
Play for an hour, we'll buy you lunch.
See? And it's just, sometimes it's you just wouldn't believe the hidden cost of a kitchen. It's unbelievable. So, but yeah, some people can do well with it. Just, I ain't one of them. That's because I don't like to eat.
He doesn't.
So there you go.
He doesn't. Can you guys talk about your views on abortion? No.
No, thank you.
Maybe religion. Nah, we won't do that either. In the day and age, I'm willing to bet. This is basically a question from FreeDog69 about the remote call-in. I'm working on that.
Yeah,
I
we
looked
had
at
that
it.
discussion a couple times. I think that'd be great.
It's just a technical issue. We can certainly do it. Other people do it. I just have to technically find out how to exact. It's one of those things where the devil's in the details.
Yeah, I know, and you love audio. I read that.
That's terrible. What this is great, Fast Lenny. Did you know this about Alaska?
I didn't.
That if New York City had the same population density as Alaska, only 16 people would be living in Manhattan.
That's
insane.
And we could have bought it from the Indians.
Wow.
No, people don't understand how big Alaska is, but I won't bore you with my Alaskan stories. If you want to know my Alaskan stories, you have to call me and fly to Alaska.
Champ 2107, who's hotter? Olympic female athletes, beach volleyball, track and field, swimmer, gymnastics, soccer chicks, dude. All the way back since high school. I wonder if discussion could shed some light based on the opinions of professional players, promoters, on the 10 best pool halls for location, equipment, environment, and most importantly, basically top 10 pool halls in the United States.
And that's a moving target, and I find that interesting, because every once in a while there's threads on AZ Billiards.
Well, to me, it goes back to rooms that I like. You nailed it on the head. They're clean. They're kept clean. To me, there's two kinds of pool rooms. Like there's like two species or whatever. One of them is a straight player's room, and the epitome of that to me is Shooters in Olathe, Dan Toll's room. It's all the equipment is clean. He puts good cloth, good balls on the table. He's proactive about the equipment.
Yeah, you don't smoke on over his tables.
Yeah.
I mean,
And that's a straight player's room, great room. But there ain't no flat screens in there, and there is food, and it's good food, but it's coming to you on a paper plate. You know what I mean? It's a straight player's room, and it's a good room, and it works for the area that it's in. And then you've got the other room, the high end. Which a perfect example of that, Amsterdam Billiards and Society Billiards.
Well, yeah, look where you are. You're in New York.
But you know what? There's places like that in Florida. There's places like that in all over the country. That was after The Color of Money. There was a giant boom in those kind of rooms. It wasn't just a guy going out buying 8 pool tables and leasing out a commercial space.
Well, let me just point out a couple of just little things that are kind of, what's the word, juxtaposed or something. Jay Halvert, that's a plug for him, I guess, is trying to sell, I think it's 14
cheap, like $1,000 a piece if you buy.
You buy 15 of them for $14,000 or 14 for $15,000. There's balls, everything, and you think, wow, that's cheap. It is cheap, but that tells you the state the market can be in.
Yeah.
The other thing is we're talking about pool halls. We, CSI, BCA Pool League, and USA Pool League, we're going to be having a state tournament in Florida. Florida doesn't even know it now, but now they do. We're sending out an email in the next day or two. We're going to have it in the middle of November. So I started checking something. Everything in Florida is on 9-foot tables. Now I know that they have the Florida Tour, but there's almost no bar pit down there with like 12 bar tables in one room. But yet you go to places like, I just came from Emerald Billiards. They got 24 bar tables in one room.
It's regional.
Absolutely, it's exactly what I'm saying. And it's so you say, what's the best pool hall? 9-foot tables normally lend more towards the players' rooms or the upscale family room. A 7-foot room, you got to be careful. They can turn into kids' hangouts pretty easily. It's because the threshold of playing better, and so there's those dynamics too. So.
And but to me, those are the two kinds of rooms. And Society, my favorite rooms, Society, Amsterdam, no particular order, Shooters and Olathe, as well as Duff's place. Duff, he's got side pockets. He's got a couple of them, and he's a good owner. I mean, these guys, in my experience, people that it's hard to run a pool room, and it's hard because you have to run it as a business. You can't run it as a club, or you can't run it as a hangout.
But there's a gray area. You have to pay attention to your customers. You have to recognize them. You can't be bullies. But so often somebody says, "Man, that's a great room." I go in there and I'm looking around and says, "Puh."
Yeah.
It's just so weird what you call great versus what I call great. There's no commonality here. I mean, you take something like Amsterdam Billiards because it's established and that's cool. But you take another room that's very Hard Times. Some people that's
Did
a
I
great
say
room.
Hard Times was great?
No. No. But see, it's got a lot of things going for it. But
to me, Hard Times is a player's room. You can't get food there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't spend a lot of time at Hard Times. When I say somewhere, my favorite room I've ever been in, my friend owned in Indianapolis, Chalkies.
Yeah.
That room was amazing. I mean, it was a non-smoking room in a smoking city.
It was non-smoking like 20 years ago.
Yeah, high-end food.
I heard about it. Yeah.
Fantastic beers. The guy was a big foodie, and he had a chef. The menu changed every week.
That's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
And
it was, but he put that out there, and what happened was he got some players, but he priced the tables was priced out, so you didn't have the guys in there just drinking water. They couldn't afford it. They couldn't afford to play. But what you did do is, for a while they made a good run of it, and then it ended up failing, but it wasn't because the room wasn't good.
It was a partnership.
Yes, yeah.
There's a lot of issues, but it's like any other business. It's just your margins are tougher. Mm-hmm. The next question that came up was, and I was almost going to jump into earlier, was WAGs, and that's it's
Jesse and Landon.
Jay Wagoner or something. It used to be the manager of Shooters in Minneapolis, I believe. Large room, 64 tables. And he said, did any organization contact Mark about his open door for a pool summit, and what would I like to see accomplished if we got a summit going? And I responded that not one person, not one player, I mean a major player, not one league representative.
Yeah, but did you put it out anywhere besides this podcast?
No, but I
mean, that's.
Well, what are you going to do? You can put an
that's like walking into the warehouse and going, I just want to let everybody know that I'm Mark Griffin. I'm willing to have a pool summit. Thank you. Good night.
No, I don't mean it that way.
I mean, if you sent out emails to all these people and said, this is our plan.
I did one a couple years ago, and I think I got one response. It's frustrating, and if people, I'm visible enough, I think, and if anybody's really serious about the game of the pool, they should know who I am in some respect, and contact me. We're going to be doing something. I say we, Justin and I are going to be doing something. I'm going to be doing something without him or with him or to him or something, but we've got. I want to.
You keep springing this shit on me.
Well, there's going to be some more things happening in pool, and I'm going to be putting them together. And if I piss off some of the other powers that be, I'm sorry, but you had your opportunity to call me. I'm not going to advertise what I'm doing. I don't
think you. I just think you do what you do.
Yeah, I know. That's exactly right.
It's.
I wish we had more
so many people in pool talk about what they're going to do. That at least to me anymore, I don't care about what you're going to do. Don't tell me what you're going to do.
I agree.
Show me what you did. Yep. Show me dates. You know what I mean? So.
Yep.
And that's. That's just that's. Questions and suggestions from This Is Fanatic. Would it be possible to have a winner-take-all ring game in the TAR studio? Yeah. You know what? If bonus ball takes off, and these guys are already here in Vegas, we'll do stuff like that.
Yeah, we have the players. We can beat the traffic.
If you can beat the expense, you can beat the nut of the travel and everything. Absolutely, we can do stuff like that. You could try having two commentators in the booth.
We had that for a while, and I like it.
I like two commentators. I like Ken by himself. It's a lot of it is a logistical issue.
We need more variety, I honestly feel.
But you know, everybody says that. Who are you going to put in? How do you get them here? You going to pay them? What are you going to pay them? You know, you have to answer these questions. You can't just say, if it was up to me, we'd have Billy in there every week, but we can't. You know, we did the numbers on last TAR 28. After the bandwidth, we lost $1,000.
Yeah, that's before labor and rent.
That's not counting monthly stuff.
Well, we don't pay Justin.
Yeah.
So, you know, and listen, if you want him to lose weight, just keep doing what you're doing. Because we won't have money for
So,
that.
and that's,
No,
you know, people were talking about tournaments and this and that, and that's what it is. It's the little things. It's the 400 here, it's the 300 here, it's the 500 there.
each up.
Yeah.
You know, but we're hanging tough because I really believe in the TAR model. All we have to do now is increase viewership. So tell everybody. It'll be interesting to see because last time
Well, we
gave
need to
away
increase
60 rooms
we need
last
to
year.
increase viewership, and we need to get some
Yeah.
sponsors.
Let's see
And
how
we
the
need to-
rooms that we gave it away last time. Let's see how they react at this one because this is a better match. You know,
Yeah, we'll see. Watch the 10-ball ring game on Google where Jimmy Matei and Danny. But if you couldn't,
Nice,
if you
be
put a
nice.
gun to my head and told me to watch a ring game with Danny and Jamie commentating, I'd tell you to pull the trigger. I'd probably beg you to pull the trigger. God, I can't imagine that. It gives me willies thinking about it.
yeah, Matei got pretty wild.
How about a 1,000-point straight pool match with Schmidt and Lyon?
4.5-inch pockets. You know, they played twice at Derby City.
You know what?
And
We would
Alex
do
won
now.
twice.
Now, here's something we would do. People will talk about straight pool, one pocket. If you guys want to do something, we'll do it. You can pay us a flat rate, and we'll do the pay-per-view, and you can keep the money.
You bet.
You know, absolutely.
It's very transparent too. It's
Yeah.
not like listen. The studio's
If
this
people
much.
want to do it,
You
know,
want
I mean,
one
if-
commentator? You want two? You want
just
to provide
because
your own?
I don't think it'll work, don't mean we can't do it.
Yeah.
I mean, and what I'm talking about, I'm not talking about a lot of money. I mean, a couple $1,000. You know,
That's right.
for a
Justin
multiple
is
day
for
event.
rent. Really?
Yeah.
No, we built this to be used for the sport. Whether it
So
be
I mean, if
advertisements-
somebody wants to, you know, if you, perfect example, if you wanted to do something, you could do it for $7,000. You put up a $5,000 prize fund, you pay us $2,000 for all the stuff, and when it's over with, I'll hand you all the video, and more power to you. You know, that's really doable.
Yeah.
If somebody wants to shoot instructional stuff, if you want to make a video, you know, it's all right here. It's cheap. So
10-foot tables here to stay, or just another crazy?
Nah, I don't
I'm
thi-
leaning towards fad. But we'll
Yeah,
leave it
for
at that.
sure, absolutely. Where are we at? Entertainment. Maybe Mark can tell us a bit about the changeover. No, God, all you do is talk about the Rio.
Do I?
Will there be shuttles to the Strip? Are the room
Yes.
prices comparable to the Riviera? Will all the events be grouped close together?
Yes.
That's the Barber. Okay.
Yeah, that's Frank. Good old Frank.
Okay.
There's, you know, you're not
Yeah.
going to notice any difference except you're going to be in a different venue.
Tell Frank anything he wants to know.
That's right. Well, Frank's a good guy.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
I'm kind of new
And Frank,
to
if you have any
pool.
questions, just call me.
I'm kind of new. I've always wondered why ferrules are almost always white. I know OBQs as a wooden ferrule. Is there a reason why they don't dye the ferrule, use different material? I don't know. I'm going to guess it started with ivory.
Nope.
No?
I mean, on the as far
Why
as
ferrules are
OBs?
white?
Oh, I can't tell you on that, but on
No, but I'm
OBs,
saying
yeah.
why ferrules are white. My guess is it probably started with ivory.
Sure, because it's 100 years ago they didn't have plastics.
Right, that's what I mean. And so that started the color. And so then when plastics and thermoplastics and all that stuff came in, they were white.
Do you remember when all the house cues were black?
Yes.
Yep. Then
yep.
that was a
Then
different
black
that's Bakelite
ferrules.
like stuff.
Yep. And then there was the micarta. A lot of people used micarta for a while. Even Sean, some of the old, and that
Yeah.
stuff turned yellow,
Yeah.
which is awesome. And now it's actually more expensive to have that stuff than ivory
Is that right?
because it's harder to find.
Yeah.
They don't make it anymore. It's got some kind of asbestos or something in it. But
OBs though is used.
their
because-
wooden ferrule is done for one reason and one reason only. It's not. It's for weight. That's it. That's why their ferrule
and
is wood.
compression.
No, weight.
Don made transistors or
Mm-hmm.
transformers and stuff, and they learned to make them stacked, and they're stronger
Mm-hmm.
and everything. And it was yeah.
Okay.
And they're going to be in town at the
Yeah,
at the APA,
Tuesday they get in.
at the
I
APA,
talked to Royce.
tournament, which is in town this next week. So Maybe some of their sevens will come over here and watch pool.
Why are the majority of shafts white maple? Maple in snooker it's ash, in pool it's maple. It's just you need something. You need a wood that you need something with a long straight grain because you're making a thin cylinder that's 29 to 30 inches long, and it's difficult. You couldn't make a shaft out of burl wood, or even cocobolo probably, but.
But I've seen some.
You've seen Purple Heart shafts. I've seen ebony shafts.
Tell you something else I saw one time, and they weren't half bad. It was Siberian maple, and it was very straight and very white. But I think it's a little too porous.
I've never seen a maple shaft anything other than white, or dark stains illegal. No, it's just, to me, it's a traditional thing. Why are bowling pins white? How come you don't see purple and green bowling pins? That's just part of it.
I don't know.
Why don't they put points or designs on the shaft? Some people do. It's been done.
There's people put lines on the shaft, aiming lines. They color their ferrules red. Wimpy did that towards the end of his playing days.
Yeah. It's all personal. It's like anything else. Wire football's brown. That's what they are, and that's generally people when they get in the game. That's what they like. They grow up with that. So.
Well, you sure address it simplistically, but I'll take your word
for it. That's what it is.
That's good enough for me. I just wasn't curious enough to know why footballs were brown. I just thought that's...
No, but they are.
Okay.
Because it's leather. Don't question me.
Yes, Daddy.
Efren lost because of a clock. That was horrible.
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
Well,
I know time is valuable for everyone. There are 2 hours until the next match. What is more? Man, when people just... They find all kinds of excuses when Efren gets beat, don't they?
Well, the rules are the rules, and they had a 90-second shot clock from the opening shot, and then afterwards it was 30 seconds. I do not know how many extensions you got. Says he fouled twice. They were heel, and I believe they were going to 6 or something, so it must have been 5-5 or 6-6 or somewhere, whatever it was. And he must have run out of time. I mean, you can't, and that's really surprising because Efren usually knows what to do quite rapidly, so. That could be an interesting in the bloopers or whatever you want to call it file. But
well, Johnny T basically says we suck and that we shouldn't even do these. I think we are spoiled with the players being on the podcast those few times. Not that Mark and Justin don't know everything that's going on in pool. It's just not going to carry an hour plus podcast. Between the podcast and AZ, we've covered just about everything at least twice. Well, Johnny, sorry.
And I like the one that they should just make me go open mic because I could ramble for quite a while on some pretty interesting topics. Well, to some people, but I'd hurt some feelings. I don't want to do that.
What do you guys think about the recent AccuStats challenges? I don't know what challenges.
I assume that's what they're talking right now, unless their arena. They got to be talking about this. I don't know.
I don't know. I like the 8-ball thing. I like the idea. I'm not crazy about the execution as far as, like I said,
balls. You don't like the
just
balls.
Some details, yeah. But the idea is fantastic, and the overall production value. It's AccuStats. So it's going to be awesome. What did you guys?
And the beautiful thing of it is AccuStats is starting to get some penetration into the Asian market with their tapes, DVDs, whatever, all the matches. So a lot of American pool and American products are being shown to 60 million people or 160 million, however many it is over there. So that's a good thing.
So what did you guys think of the prices they tried to charge for the 14-1 tourney? That wasn't an AccuStats produced event, was it?
It was not, and it was not very good from what I've understood. $99 for the straight pool and the 3 cushion.
I would have sweated that 3 cushion. I just didn't. I was doing other things. I really wanted to
see it, and I couldn't get to see it just
because I would have never seen anything like that. And the other thing,
beat Ceulemans.
Did he? Yeah.
100 to 95. He lost to Bloomdahl. Bloomdahl ran a 16 and played to 31. It's kind of hard to overcome that. That's like a master
playing. You ran
playing.
a 16?
Yeah. Wow. Playing 3 cushion. Efren ran 5.
God, that's crazy. You ran a 16 and 3 cushion.
Yeah, and it was high. The highest they had a tournament. The highest run in the tournament was 14.
Holy shit!
Oh no, the guy is. Some of those guys are just. They're unbelievable. You guys need to watch 3 cushion if you ever get a chance. And Efren is to this day. Well, first of all, I didn't realize he said Bachlein was his best game. But the reason he played such good pool, one of the aspects, is that he understood 3 cushions and how to get the table around and where it would come in at. And all the you know, Efren's a unique, one of a kind dude, though. And I feel really fortunate that I was here while he was here.
For sure, absolutely.
You know, I wish I could have seen Lassiter and those guys play, but I was in Alaska and they refused to come up and see me. So. You're looking at something.
Yeah, I'm looking at our Facebook because I put some stuff up there.
Oh, yeah, we
this
took
is
you made a page. You got a commercial account now. Or what
Kevin R. Brown. Q extensions, why they should be legal. Use a bridge. Oh, so this is just a cranky guy. Whatever happened to maximum length queues? It's every tournament's different. Sometimes they enforce the rules, sometimes they don't. DVD availability, we covered that. Crazy the 5x10. I don't think it's the right table for the 8-ball event starting tomorrow. We did discuss that event. The 10-foot thing, I think,
Not with those pockets. These guys shoot the extra foot is not making it any tougher. It might actually make the game easier because you have still less clusters.
Watching them play on their own money is much more interesting.
Well, those arguments kind of tick me off.
Yeah, well, here's the thing.
You know,
people
pop up with the money, dude.
They don't play on their own money. Let me fix that for you right now. They've almost never played on their own money. And they almost never do play on their own money. It's never been that way. They don't have the money to bet $10,000, $20,000. We covered that. You know, I mean, these guys want to win, whether they're paying for $1,000 difference.
It's as much pride as anything. It's just, but the attitude that these are exhibitions is just wrong.
Yeah.
And it's real simple. If
but,
backers were flying off the chairs, there'd be a lot of gambling matches. There's no money. The money's dried up. Yeah. So it's either our way or no way because the market has dictated.
And I understand people saying, "Well, that's what I like," but that's what you like because honestly, you probably maybe I don't know. It's never. There's hardcore people out there that say, "Oh, I'd rather watch two shortstops play for $50 than watch Efren and Shane play an exhibition." And if that's the case, that's fine. You're going to be watching bad pool though. You know, and it's if you see, to me, just because some guys are playing for some money, perfect example of this was Duff, and I think it was Duff and Carl, not Carl, I can't remember the guy's name. This is way back. They were playing like some crazy $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a game or a set. It was crazy money, big money, in Kansas City. And then there was, I think it was Shane and somebody else was down there playing, just goofing, like short sets or something. But, I mean, it was giant. It was big money. It would be big money today. And everybody was talking about it. But these are like B players, maybe. Yeah. And so for 20 minutes, everybody listens to them bark, and then they go over there and they get the game together, and they start playing. And after 20 minutes, everybody's like, fuck, this is terrible. You know what I mean? If you're not in the middle, it's just it is what it is. It's bad pool.
Yeah, so, well, you don't have to be better than you don't have to be a good player. You're supposed to be better than the guy you're playing.
Yeah. So and as far as the DCC action room,
that went sideways. Yeah. There's no source of income. I mean, last time.
Well, no, personally for me, even if there was, it's just I think I'm just getting old. I think I've outgrown that shit. Yeah. And what I like, if the action room was full of guys like John Mars and Shane or Dennis or, and even Alex, to where guys come in, they make a game. If they don't want the game, they don't play the game. But it's not. It's full of guys like Scooter and Dippy, and those guys are funny for 10 minutes. But now let me put you in my shoes and say, okay, you've got to be in here 12 hours a day, and you're locked in with these idiots. And after you've heard, they say the same shit over and over. Just because you hear them say something witty, that's because it's the first time you heard it. After you hear it 50 times, the same saying, it's just like,
well, Derby,
you're just an idiot that's broke trying to scam. That's it.
Media coverage kind of went away.
I'm glad we did it. I'm glad we did it.
Yeah,
but
we had some great matches, especially at the
old
hotel.
We had some great matches,
Alex
and
Shane,
but that's my point. We had some great matches, the guys that were in those great matches, we still having great matches.
Yeah.
We got rid of all the bullshit.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to fade through.
Yeah.
You know, all that. Right. So, but you know, to get here, we had to have done what we did.
Yeah.
Will there be any more players when players bet their own? Players don't bet their own. Stop it. Will we ever see Shane and Daz play 8-ball?
I'd love to think so.
Hopefully.
I'm betting we are.
We will see Shane and Daz play at some point.
And it'll probably be on this table rather than the 10-footer, just because this is a more challenging table. You know, it's that pocket size. It's the pocket size that makes the threat.
Randall Truscott, Justin, here, fucking audio.
Easy.
Please apply. Easy. Just you. Ugh. Pool becoming an Olympic event covered. Chick-fil-A, who cares?
Yeah.
How about a percentage split of the purse? Hated hearing on the last broke even, 20%, 80, nah, it doesn't work that way. I think there's a mention in the last podcast, Shane versus Frost. Actually, the one on AZ is Frost and Efren.
Yeah. Well, there was a Shane versus Frost discussion too, playing one pocket. Can it happen? Sure. Will it happen? Who knows? You know, you just don't know. Justin does the best he can, and sometimes it's pretty tough. A lot of moving parts to
Any
make
chance of getting any women in? No. People won't pay to watch them. It's the bottom line.
Well, they'll watch it for 10 minutes. So
They won't pay to watch them.
No.
I did a women's event in Florida 4 years ago.
Right. You went down for Corey's event, and then the women's event, and then 12 people in the room.
Well, we didn't sell 100 for the whole 4 days. It was terrible. Didn't even cover the expenses. And that was for all of the women, and they were all there, like Xiao Ting.
I know they got uppity. You had a little problem with the women on that one too.
Yeah. Well, they wouldn't.
They wouldn't let you determine which matches to play.
Like you would have like Allison Fisher and
Shouting Band.
Yeah, and Guy Young playing over here, but they would want to put up. I mean, I'm not
don't insult me, but just no names.
Two people nobody really, half the country certainly never heard of. But it's she comes to all the events, and you know that tour was supported by the dead money.
Yeah.
You know, it's
all tours are.
Yeah. And so they're, at least, you know, from their point of view, it's smart. You know, we want to make them, you know,
feel like a star.
This person that puts in $10,000 a year into the tour through entries and memberships and all that crap, it makes sense. But if you're trying to get people to watch your pool,
it doesn't make sense.
No, and it really pisses off your customers.
Yeah.
Because they know, they can tell. They're like, oh, who's that playing over there in the back? Why are we watching this shit?
Yeah.
You know?
No, it's a very dicey situation. There's a balancing act, but you have to do what's best.
Let me just check one more thing.
Well, while you're doing that, I'm going to put in what do you call it? An unmerciful plug.
Yeah.
I'm somewhat affiliated, and a good friend of mine's affiliated with a site called Fanz, FANZ.com, and I would recommend everybody go there and take a check on it, because it's kind of like a Facebook thing, only it's for sports, and they're going to be starting to carrying all the information on pool. And so it'll be a nice, it's an interactive information network that connects you to the latest information and from all the feeds on all sports. I mean, every sport there is. They do it a direct feed. They got a term for it. It's way over my head. But it's just FANZ.com. It's you can like and unlike teams. You can there's a lot of discussions and everything going, and it's starting to grow pretty good. It has the potential to help pool. So if you get it, go check it out. You know, make up your own mind. And you sign up. It's free, and you can. It's just like a Facebook thing. It doesn't cost you anything. You can bail anytime you like. So, I think it has the potential to help TAR. So I'm gonna help push them, and they're gonna help push us. They'll be putting up announcements that TAR's having matches and things like that on, because they're starting to get a pretty good base.
I don't know what it is.
I know you're not familiar with it. You should. It's Dick Clark is an old running mate of Bobby LeBlanc's, of all things, from 30 years ago, was involved in it. It's got some great potential. So we're going to start working some things out with them if we possibly can. We're still looking for some sponsors for TAR 29 too, aren't we?
Yeah, I think that boat's probably sailed. It's next week.
Yeah, well, the proof is in the pudding. We need to see if we can, if anybody wants to get involved with sponsorship, let us know. I don't really have a whole lot more to say. I don't want to drag everybody out on this thing, you know.
Why the big money difference between Places and Tunica? I can't speak to Tunica. I don't know if he's talking about your event or not. I guess so. Yeah,
Well,
he is.
there's a huge difference in the money places, and I can tell you why. Because that tournament, if somebody would read the poster, and Wags, you know better than to put up a thing like that without reading the poster, because this is the first time I saw this, and I'll make a response in that thread later on tonight or tomorrow. We advertised that in the vein of $3,000 first prize guaranteed based upon 64 players. We got 48 players. Obviously, almost all the money is going to have to go to, and we added 1,300 to that event on 44 players. We just couldn't pay down to the normal 1/3 we do because we didn't have enough bodies. And there's a couple of reasons why we didn't have enough bodies. When we made our ad, we didn't know that there was going to be other leagues there. And it was a little miscommunication, not on our part, but we were on the receiving end. And in all honesty, the turnout at Tunica for all the amateur events was pretty weak. First events can do that. So all I can say is we tried something and it didn't work. You can pay out tournaments a couple of different ways. You can just pay 1/3 of the field to be paid, or you can say $3,000 for first place. You can't do both if nobody shows up. So I don't have anything to apologize for because we did exactly what we said we did. In fact, between the two events, we added $2,580. I don't know what more you can ask for on a $40 tournament.
Yeah, tournaments suck, man.
Well, it is. It's just you can't win. I mean, it's just crazy because this was a $40 entry fee tournament, and we were offering, Now the guys that won it, they're real tickled.
Sure, well, yeah. You pay $40 to win 2,200.
Yeah.
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 That's crazy.
Well, we were, in all honesty, we tried to do something similar to what Hopkins uses. He offers $5,000 and pays 5% of the field, and has 1,000 players. Now, granted, he's been there 20 years. You got to start somewhere. Mm-hmm. Where we probably made our biggest mistake is we went to 3,000 and we should have gone to 2,000, and we could have paid 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th or something. And if we had 100 players, if the two events could have been combined, everybody would have been happy. We would have had 90 players. Then it would have done the numbers. But what can you say? Shit happens. But it's a good question, and I will respond. At least we had an event, folks, with a $40 entry fee. So they don't all work out well. That's one of the griefs of running leagues and running tournaments, because when things don't work, people beat you up.
Oh yeah, you're evil. You're robbing people.
Yeah. And it's our responsibility to know who all these people are, and we try the best we can.
You couldn't pay me to do that, what you guys do.
Well, the thing is, and granted, people do slide by us, but it really tickles me when a guy that's a mediocre player says, well, that guy's a master player, blah, blah. I go over and watch him, he misses 3 balls.
It's impossible. You can't win.
He plays better than you did, and hey, we miss.
You can't win.
Yeah, it's a tough nut.
It's terrible.
Because there is no consistent handicap. It's not like a bowling score or a bowling, you don't have those numbers, that hardness. It's not there.
I know.
Well, you're right. It's a tough game. And
that's
why people have got to take some of the money aspect out of pool.
Yes, that especially amateur pool.
You can't. It's supposed to be a recreation. It's not supposed to be a livelihood. And these guys,
you go back to softball.
Oh yeah. Softball has almost as many umpires as we have members, and that's over 50,000 folks. They have 48,000 referees, 4 million members, and if you win the International Softball Championship of the World, Charlie must be promoting this, the World Softball, you get baseballs and bats and gloves. That's your prize. No money.
Right.
I don't even think you get paid out here.
Yeah.
Triple elimination tournaments, a lot of them are. It's
a lot of sports are that way too.
Yeah.
A lot of them.
That's maybe what makes the sport.
Yeah.
You don't get paid for playing beach volleyball. How about these gymnastics? These girls that work their butts off, they don't get to go to a tournament and win money.
Yeah, and shooting, it's most places. There's some money. Well, I can tell you, first prize for there's a 3-gun competition, and they're on television. 3-Gun Nation. These guys, they're on TV. Like first prize for the guy. This is like a whole series. It's $5,000.
That's it.
Yeah.
And how many people try out for this? Hundreds, thousands?
Hundreds.
But they're all pretty sporty.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And
you chew up $5,000 worth of bullets. And get
oh,
into there.
5,000 doesn't even begin to cover the nut.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Of
even.
the winner's
This is
nut. Yeah.
to win that $5,000, you've got to go to like 8 events all across the United States.
Oops.
Yeah, it's not. But
So it's recreation with a little bit of bragging rights and a couple of bucks. At
and
the end.
well, some industry behind it, and the way that a lot of the pros in that industry make their money is they teach, they train, they endorse products.
Yeah.
You know.
No,
so.
there's a lot of things that's one aspect that pool is behind the curve, and again,
Honestly, in pool, people expect to come, show up, play some pool, and you give them money.
yeah.
And if there's not a shit ton of added money, they're not interested.
Yeah. Oh, I've had in the past a few events where a known player says, "Well, what's first place get?" This is when we were doing the national championship series, so most of the money had to go to their airfare and getting them to Vegas. And we had some top players say, "Oh, I'm not going to do this," and talk other people not, you know. And the end result was Brandon Schuff entered a $75 tournament, won $6,000, got to go to the World's 8-ball, and it worked out exactly like it was supposed to.
Right.
Low entry fee, huge experience.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, and that's a cultural thing, and I don't think you're ever going to fix it in this
I'm
country.
not. I need another 30 years. You guys better hope I don't last that long.
I think that's it. We need to wrap it up. We're
I
running
agree.
late. So,
TAR 29.
yep. Next week we're going to try to have Dennis here. Shane will be here, barring any disasters.
For what it's worth, Danny Petrol was coming in with Dennis, and he's a pretty sporty player too. He won
Yes,
our
he is.
Masters level one time.
Danny's a good player.
So thanks a lot. We still want your ideas and suggestions, and I'm not going to apologize if we ramble, because we ramble, but let's make it happen. It's all good for pool. We're trying.
Yeah.
We appreciate everybody.
Just remember what Johnny T said. You suck.
Really?
Maybe it's we, but
Yeah.
I'm blaming you.
You know, you can pick on some of your own size. He's not. That's not what he said. You know, that's the problem with you. You big guys, your feelings get hurt too easily.
I'm not
So
feeling
you
not
gotta be a
hurt.
little
Let
guy
me
like
read.
me,
Let
and
me.
I'm used to
Let me
abuse,
read
see?
what he said. He said, basically.
He said everything's already been discussed.
Basically, without players, we should just shut up.
I'm
And
a player.
I'm fine with that.
I'm a player. I have a
I'm
Derby
fine with
City card that says player on it.
I don't like
For
sitting here
6 or
talking to
7
you every
I know.
week. I could get away
No,
without
and I don't want to
this.
just ramble. So, thanks a lot. If you come up with some good ideas, let us know them. Tell your friends about TAR 29. Let's support it. Let's make it happen. And I love feedback. Had to say that. Can we say goodnight, Justin?
Yeah. Good night. Take
Good
it
night.
easy, guys. Thank you.